Sickle cell. It's a blood disorder that affects the flow of red blood cells. The American Society of Hematology says healthy cells, they're flexible and can navigate through small blood cells with ease. Now, in a person with sickle cell, the red blood cells are rigid and can block blood flow, causing pain to those impacted. The CDC says signs of the disease can manifest after you're born, and it can start as early as 5 months old. Some of the symptoms include anemia, dark urine, yellow eyes, pain and swelling in your feet and hands, growth development, and even stroke. The CDC says the only cure for the disease is a bone marrow or cell transplant, but there are treatments available to help people manage the disease. Joining me now is someone who knows all too familiar with this subject, Ty Montgomery. He's a wide receiver, running back for the New Orleans Saints. Ty, thank you for joining us and welcome to BNC, sir. Ty, when did you find out you had sickle cell, the sickle cell trait, and can you also discuss some of the challenges you face as a professional football player with the trait?
Yeah, I found out I had the trait back in 2011, my freshman year in college at Stanford, and I was blessed to go to a university that did its due diligence on trying to figure out who had the trait. And honestly, it made a lot of my life growing up make sense. The difficulty in training, the cramps, the hospitalizations, and the pain, it all made sense. And I was blessed that I had people educate me. And throughout my career, I believe if it wasn't for my trainers and doctors at Stanford, it probably would have been much worse on me throughout my career. But I've suffered from rhabdomyolysis due to having the trait. That's just like the breaking down of the muscle tissues. Apparently, I don't speak doctor well all the time, but because of my trait, there's a lack of oxygen that I can receive sometimes through extreme physical exertion. So if I don't eat hydration, sleep hydration, stretch hydration, and add hydration to everything in my life, it can make my profession very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a sport that is very physical and involves a lot of muscle to do what you do. Did you ever question your ability to play at this level once you found out that you had the trait?
Yeah, when I found out, it was a little scary. I, I didn't know how far I'd be able to push myself, and this is a very competitive sport, and you always have to push yourself past your limits, past your boundaries. And I always had this stigma in my mind that if I push past my limits and my boundaries, then I'm just going to hurt myself, so I can't do it. And so, like I said before, I'm grateful for the trainers and the doctors and everybody at Stanford that educated me, and I felt really comfortable. And now, when we go play in places like Denver, or when I was in college playing in Utah, or even now just playing in places with extreme temperatures, I'm able to come up with a plan, and I know what my body needs now. And honestly, thank God for the oxygen that we carry on the sidelines. And I just hit that a few times, and I'm good to go.
Well, speaking of places such as Denver that you have to play in, did you ever think about following the suit of other players who just chose to not make that trip to Denver with their teams? For instance, current ESPN analyst and former Super Bowl champion Ryan Clark. And how torn were you when making the decision to say, you know what, I'm not going to let this trade hold me back. I am going to play.
When I first heard about that, it was a little scary because I believe in listening to people and following the example of the people who came before me. And ultimately, like I said, I trusted my trainers, and I trusted myself to know when I would need to sit it down. If something were to go wrong, something were to happen, then I was going to sit down and I wasn't going to fight through it. And thankfully, thanks be to God, I was able to finish. But I know that everyone's experiences with the trait is different. It could be different, and so I just try to listen to my body.
Yeah. Briefly tell us about your work with the Be Match campaign.
Yeah, I met a guy named Dorian, and we've become pretty close. And unfortunately, I was not a match for him, but I did the cheek swab, and I was gonna do the bone marrow, donating the bone marrow to help him, and anything else that needed to be done to help him. From my understanding, Black people need to help Black people, especially when it comes to this, because of how we're affected by it, and we are good for one another. And I just want to do everything I can, and I encourage anyone to sign up and see if they can be a match and help save the lives of one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. What would you like to see happen in this country so more of us become aware that we actually carry this trait?
Um, Testing and talking about it. It doesn't need to hold us back, but I do think it's something that we can educate ourselves on and talk about. I think the more we educate ourselves, the less fear exists, the less anxiety or taboo that exists around it, and also the less ignorance. And I don't say that with a condescending tone, just a lack of knowledge about it, and just just supporting one another. And I know I said this before, but it's imperative and very crucial that we understand that we have to help one another. Like Black people have to help Black people when it comes to this. Like I said, I don't speak doctor, but from my understanding, we have to donate to help our own brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. Ty Montgomery, thank you, sir, for taking the time out to talk with us. It was a pleasure.